Hey, it's Maya here, and today I'd like to chat with you about tips for improving your website's homepage to attract your ideal client. So if you see a head popping up right here, my dog decided she wanted to be here too. So this is my dog Sage, but let's talk about your website's homepage. So the homepage is one of my most favorite pages to design on a website just because it's the spot where you really get to welcome people into the website and show them what you're all about. When someone comes to your homepage, you want it to do three things. Number one, like I said, you want to welcome them and let them know if they're in the right place. Let them know right away if your business seems like a good fit for what they're looking for, and we'll talk more about this in just a little bit. And then number two, you want to give them a sneak peek of what all you have to offer, and then that goes along with number three, driving them from the homepage to different areas of your website so that they can find what they need. So in order to give you some tips for improving your homepage, I've broken it down into 5 common mistakes that I often see. Now, when I say mistakes, please don't let that discourage you. I know that often on the internet when people are sharing content, we'll always say, avoid these mistakes or stop doing this. But I want you to know that I'm not sharing this information to make you feel bad. I hope that you'll learn something from this video and be able to use it to make your website better so that it's better serving your audience and your business. And when I'm sharing these tips, I do want to let you know that I'm sharing them with service-based businesses in mind, more so than product-based businesses. So let's get into the 5 tips, but before I do, I wanted to let you know that if you like this video, I'd really love it if you subscribed and clicked the bell to get notifications when I post a new video. It would also really help me if you gave this video a thumbs up. And you can expect more design and business productivity related videos for service-based creative entrepreneurs from me in the future. Alright, so let's get into the tips. The first common mistake that I often see business owners make with their websites is that they're very focused on a pretty design, but not necessarily the strategy that goes into website design. So let me explain what I mean and how to fix that. Everybody wants their website to look nice, and that's very important. I'm not saying that it's not, but what's also really important in website design is the actual strategy that goes into the layout. So as a website designer, when I'm creating a website or a website template, I'm thinking about what is on brand for that business owner as far as the colors and the fonts and the photos, that sort of thing. But I'm also very intentional about the layout that I'm creating, where I place things on the page, certain text that's included, that sort of thing. So let me share a few tips for how you can make your website more strategic in an authentic way. We're not talking about being sleazy here, but just more strategic and intentionally designed and not just pretty. So the first thing that I want you to do when you're trying to make your homepage more strategic is to remember the purpose of the page. So like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, with your homepage, you really want to make people feel welcome and give them a taste of what your business has to offer, and then direct them to other areas of your website that they would find helpful. In addition to having the purpose of that specific page in mind, you'll also want to have your layout support the main goal of your website. So for example, if you're a life coach, then your website probably exists to help you connect with more potential clients and hopefully book more clients, right? So that's the overall goal of your website, and every single page of your website should support that goal, including your homepage. And with this in mind, you want the structure of your homepage to support that goal with what we call calls to action to invite people to check out your services, and then You might also have some sub goals for your website that you also want to display on your homepage, like asking people to sign up for a freebie or giving them an invitation to read more about you and your business story, or showcasing some client transformations. But whatever your goals are, you want to make sure that that main goal and those sub goals are clear on your homepage. So now that you know that there is some strategy that goes into the layout of your homepage, let's talk about the second common mistake that I see and how you can fix that. And while knowing the strategy is important, this one is actually one of the most important tips that I can share about your homepage, I think. And that is, I often see this mistake where the first thing that people see when they come to your homepage doesn't make it clear what your business is offering and how it can help. So how can you fix this? Well, that top section of your website page, which is usually underneath the navigation bar, is what's called in the website design world a hero section. It's also referred to often as the above the fold area, which is a nod to newspapers and how the newspaper printers, whenever they were setting up the layout of the newspaper, you know, the first thing that you'll see on a folded newspaper is the headline and then a little bit of the story and then also maybe an image, right? And that was meant to entice people to pick up the newspaper, unfold it, and read the rest of it. So the idea is the same with your website, especially on the homepage. You want the heroes section to grab people's attention, let them know if they're in the right place, and make them want to stay on your website and find out more. So how can you do this? Well, there's something called a value message, and it makes it clear who you serve, what you're offering, and how it can help them. And you want to make this value message be the first thing that people see in your hero section on your website, so they know if they're in the right place and they want to stick around. So you want your website's hero section to have two things: this value message, and then usually it will also have some sort of photo either off to the side or in the background that resonates with your ideal client and will make them want to stick around and learn more. So again, that value message tells people who you serve, what you're offering, and how it can help them in just one sentence usually. You want to keep this clear and to the point. The common formula for a value message is pretty simple. Again, it's just one sentence. So it goes like this: I help insert your ideal client by insert what you're offering that. So now you're going to talk about the value that what you're offering brings to their life. So if I'm using my own business as an example, I could say something like this: I help creative small business owners by providing show it website templates that make it easy and affordable to have a quality website and stand out online. It's one sentence, but I told them who I serve, what I'm offering, and how it can help them. So that way, if they come to my website and let's say they own a restaurant, they are probably not looking for me to be their website designer, so they'll probably go somewhere else, and that's okay. But at least I'm identifying my ideal client and how I'm helping them right off the bat. And if they are my ideal client, then they'll be more likely to want to stick around if they know what my website is all about right off the bat. Now that was just a very simple formula for writing your value message, and you'll find different variations of that out on the internet, but that's basically the gist of it. And once you have that down, you can get more creative with how you're rearranging the parts of this value message. You might make your sentence more creative, but that formula is just to help you get started with writing a value message, and then you can move the parts around and make it more tailored to your brand and more interesting however you see fit. So for example, my current value message on my website says create a website that's as purpose-driven as you are, and then there's a picture of a laptop beside it with sliding examples of my website templates, and then underneath that value message there's a button that says shop show it templates. So let's move on to the third mistake that I often see on home pages, and that's that the branding isn't cohesive enough, it's not relevant to the business's target audience, or it's outdated. So let's talk about what that all means and how you can fix it. So branding is twofold. It's the strategy of your business, the messaging, but also the visual branding that people often think about when they hear about branding, like your logo, your color scheme, and your fonts. Right now, I'm going to focus more on the visual branding. If there's lots and lots of different fonts on your website and you have lots of different colors, things are kind of all over the place, it won't be a cohesive and it will just make your website kind of confusing. To the same point, let's say that you're an engagement and wedding photographer, right? And your ideal client is very high end and they respond well to light, pastel, very romantic colors. But your website is very dark and heavy, it might turn your ideal client off. Now, that's not to say that you can't have a dark and moody website if you're a photographer, because there's plenty of those out there. But if it's not right for your ideal audience and what they expect to see out of a photographer, then it could be a turnoff. So just make sure that when you're considering your branding, you have your audience in mind. And then with the last point, let's say that your branding is outdated. Maybe you haven't updated your website in a while, but your brand has changed and grown and evolved. And so maybe you're sharing one set of colors on Instagram and your photos are looking great, everything's on point, but then they come to your website and it just doesn't look the same, things aren't matching up. You want to make sure that your brand is up to date visually and with your messaging everywhere that you're present, whether that's on your website or on your social media. So let's talk about how you can make your branding more cohesive, make sure it appeals to your ideal audience, and make sure that it's not outdated. The first thing that you'll want to do when it comes to having cohesive visual branding is have a color palette that you stick to. When you're choosing your brand colors, I recommend starting with about 4 to 6 colors, and then you can choose 2 of those to be dominant and the other 2 to 4 colors will be accent colors. Sticking to this color palette will just help you be consistent. You just want your colors to always remain the same, and people will start to associate you with those colors, so then they always know that it's you. And the reason that I recommend paring it down to 4 to 6 colors is that when you start using more than that, things can get a little bit cluttered and overwhelming to people who are looking at your website. As far as your fonts go, I recommend sticking to 2 to 3 fonts that pair well together, and that just means that when you're looking at them, the fonts don't clash with each other. Another thing that can impact your branding, especially on your website, is the photos that you choose. So you want to have photos that are all of a similar style. If you've worked with a photographer, or if you are a photographer, this will be easier for you because all of your photos probably already have a similar style. But if you're choosing stock images to go on your website, I just recommend that you choose photos that have a similar look and feel to them so that they don't clash on your website as well. And pro tip, one easy way to do this with stock images is to actually look and see the photographer who took the image, and then go see if you like any of their other stock photos as well. And I recommend sticking with stock photos that are from about only 2 or 3 up to maybe 4 or 5 different photographers that all have similar styles, just so that all of your photos go together well on your website. And if you're looking for a good resource for stock images for your website, I recommend Unsplash.com, and I can link to that in the resources section of the description for this video below. Now, as far as making sure that your branding appeals to your ideal audience, I recommend asking them. Send out surveys and ask people which they like better by showing them color palettes. You could even do this on Instagram, or you can just ask them straightforward what colors do they like. And if you're not sure, you could also do some competitor research, but I do recommend being careful with this because you don't want to copy other people's branding and you don't want to be just like everyone else, right? So try to put your own twist and style on things as far as your branding goes. So let's move on to the fourth mistake that I often see, and that's that there's often too little or too much text on the homepage. And this could go for any page of your website really, but especially is true for the homepage. One thing that is just as important as the design, if not more important, is the actual words that you put on the page. I do recommend working with a professional copywriter to write the text for your website if you can, but I know that everyone doesn't necessarily have the budget for that, especially when you're just starting out. But my point here is that you want to have words that make an impact. You don't want to have words on your homepage just to have words there and fill up the space, but you also don't want to put so few words that people can't get the information that they're looking for, because that will just confuse them. And honestly, when it comes to the text on your website, this really differs from business to business depending on your audience. They might think a certain amount of words is too much, and other audiences might be looking to read more. If you look at a copywriter's website, they will often have more words on their pages because they're trying to be known for their writing, so it's very important that they showcase that. But if you're a photographer, the photos that you put on your website are very important. So it's important to showcase the photos first and have the word support that. One very important thing that I recommend that you do with your website, especially on the homepage, is that you make your text skimmable, because no matter who your target audience is, most people nowadays have a very short attention span and they want to find what they're looking for fast, so they probably won't read every single word that you have on the page, unfortunately. So you can make your text more skimmable by breaking it up into sections, and also having certain text that is in bigger headings and then subheadings and then paragraphs, and having a sort of that hierarchy to it just makes it easier to read. It makes it easier for people to find the main points. You want your most important text to be in the headings and subheadings to catch people's attention so that they will want to keep reading, because if your headings and subheadings are boring, people will just gloss over it and they might not go to check out what's in the paragraphs as well. I'm not a professional copywriter, so I recommend consulting one or researching copywriting if you have more questions about this. This is just something that I've picked up over the years as a website designer. And also, I'd like to recommend the YouTube channel Ashlyn Writes. She's a copywriter and she shares really a great tip for DIY copywriting for your website. So I'll link to her channel in the description below as well if you need more help with the copywriting for your website. Now on to the fifth and final mistake that I often see on home pages, and that's that there are no clear calls to action. So calls to action are those short statements that invite people to take action. They tell them what to do next. So for example, when I was talking earlier about the hero section, and I mentioned having a button that says shop show it templates, that's a call to action that invites people to shop or view services or view portfolio and so on. So throughout your homepage, you want to make sure that you have buttons that tell people what to do next. You want to guide people through your website intentionally so that it's easy for them to find what they're looking for. So, for example, if someone's on a section of your homepage where you're telling them about yourself, you might invite them to read more of your story, or if you're showing your recent blog posts, you might have read more buttons, or if you're talking all about your services, you might invite them to view your services page and so on. But it's just a simple thing, but such an important thing to have those buttons there so people know what to do next if they want to find out more. So those are the 5 common mistakes that I often see on home pages and how you can fix them to make your website better attract your ideal client. If you've ever made any of these mistakes, again, don't feel bad. We don't know what we don't know, and having a business is just a constant journey of learning and experimenting and finding out how we can do better to serve the people that we are trying to reach through our businesses. So I hope that if you have been making some of these mistakes on your homepage, you feel empowered now to take those tips that I shared on how to fix them and make your homepage even better. If you do make some changes to your homepage based on this video, I'd love to see what you've done. You can take a screenshot of your homepage and share it to your Instagram story and tag me at mypalmerdesigns, or you can DM me on Instagram, or you can email it to me. My email is maya@mypalmerdesigns.com. My main goal is to help you, so I'd really love to chat with you and also answer any questions that you might have. If you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments below. And if you liked this video, I also offer a free guide on how to choose a Show It website template that's right for your business, and I'll put that in the link below as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk with you again soon.